It went fine. Hopefully there won't be any more trouble.
Good. Thanks for going down there.
My name is Patrick Ewing. I worked on tools and gameplay programming.
The teens, Patrick.
Let's open some old wounds here.
This is like going back to like an old battleground and being like on these hallowed grounds.
Yeah.
Bad
I died
things
on this hill.
happened. I died on this hill.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of the most complex interactions in the game, if not the most, right?
Yeah.
And it was in the game from the very first vertical slice we did, and then I think we kind of added to it as we played through it and saw like, oh, we should be able to throw the boombox in the lake, obviously, right? Okay, the teens need to react to the boombox being in the lake. Oh, but then they should also react to you putting it down.
What you should do if you're making a video game is build relatively ironclad, predictable AI and systems that react to inputs. But instead, we built a series of relatively flimsy state machines that were like, if this, but not when, and also if.
Right.
And we're able to create the scene as designed. And Patrick was sort of the shepherd of this scene. So whenever anything would break, if you were to throw the boombox and the teens were not to respond, or you leave with the boombox and they would talk about something else, it was Patrick's job to ferret into the state machine and figure out what was going on.
Yeah, and I'm happy with how it turned out. There are so many different ways that this scene can play out now, depending on what you choose to do. Do you throw the fireworks at them? Do you talk to them and then start messing up their stuff and throwing it in? And it ends up being pretty believable. They feel like real characters. It's just such a crazy spaghetti code in the back end that I'm always terrified when I see someone play through it, that there's some interaction that we didn't think about.
Right now the player is interacting with the teens in a way that is completely not by the book. And
I mean, luckily we haven't...
beads of sweat are building on your brow.
Yeah, I think it's just a PTSD response at this point. We would see the bug reports if this was actually still breakable.
Yeah.
Well, this lake does seem like a good spot to swim, even if the last people to do so were assholes.
Yeah, right now, though, it's all snowmelt, so you'll freeze your balls off. But as hot as it's been, maybe that's a fair trade.
Starting to feel like it. Any chance of those kids getting a disease in this lake, like diphtheria or consumption or...
Consumption? Not if they're not 19th century chimney sweeps, no.
You know, whatever.
I mean, if they drank a bunch, Giardia maybe, but probably not this time of year.
Well, that's too bad. I found a sweatshirt from the University of Eastern Colorado.
There's a University of Eastern Colorado?
I really don't think there is.
Why would somebody make that up?
Right, and then put it on a sweatshirt.
The world's a weird place.
Hello, my name is Erin Yvette, and I'm the voice of Chelsea.
Hi, my name is Nikki Rapp, and I'm the voice of Lily.
And we're the drunk teens in the lake.
The obnoxious, skinny dipping, drunk, firework blasting teens.
This isn't the first time that you've played a Lily, though.
It is not. It's actually the third time I've played a Lily. My first Lily was Lily Zanato in Psychonauts. And then I played the lovable Lily in The Walking Dead from Telltale. And now I'm Lily in Campos Santos' amazing game Firewatch.
I'm pretty sure the backstory behind my character's name is that it's Sean Vanneman's girlfriend's name. Slightly less backstory for me
rad,
personally,
though.
but she's a cool person in real life, so it's fine. Although I wouldn't
good.
say that this character is based off of her, because this character is... I guess I always pictured her being changing majors constantly in college because she like can't decide what she wants to do. Like she's gone through like psychology and sociology and like and just constantly flunking out of everything.
Yeah,
So she's
I
just
think
switching until something sticks.
that's good you had ambition. I don't think my character really... I think she just was kind of drunk, cutting class.
This isn't the first time that they've done something like this.
Not at all. I think they were professionals at it. They were good. They were good at getting people to buy them booze, you know,
Totally.
that kind of a thing. That's good. Stand outside of 7-Eleven.
Whenever people ask me, like, oh, who did you play in Firewatch? It's like, oh, remember that time on day one where, like, you saw these silhouettes of, like, gyrating women? I was one of those. I
Yeah,
probably
there's, like,
called you a fucking
bras.
asshole. That was me.
That's a dubious honor, but it's still an honor.
Totally, yeah. A little tiny bit of a really cool game.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
I take it you fell prey to the Forest Service's big recruiting effort when it comes to, how the hell you ended up out here.
I saw the job in the paper and figured, what the heck.
What the heck? I've got no ties and no life. Better go spend what's left of it in utter loneliness.
Something like that.
Yeah, thanks to last summer, the bump in Forest Service budget actually allowed for us to advertise for the job. Glad it worked.
What happened last summer that accounted for this windfall?
Jeez. I mean, the federal government almost let Yellowstone National Park burn to the ground. Ring a bell?
Yellowstone is 15 miles away. Why would they do that?
Well, the short story is that for 60 years, we got very good at not letting forest fires happen. And then about 15 years ago, they decided that forest fires in wilderness areas like Yellowstone should be left to burn. So that's what they did. I can't believe you didn't hear about this. There were reports that the entire park was gone. Dan Rather telling the country that President Reagan didn't care on the nightly news. And what the hell's he gonna do? Smoke jump in and snuff one out for the Gipper?
So what should they have done?
I don't even know. By the time the Yellowstone folks realized the little fires weren't going to burn themselves out, 100,000 acres were gone. It's Yellowstone, People don't want to touch it, but we touch it every single day. But hey, I got a 30 cents an hour raise because we can't have another fiasco. The goddamn park can burn down again. So, I have a bit of a confession to make.
What is it?
A Look, I was drunk last night when I welcomed you to the job.
Yeah, well, you're not the first boss to be guilty of that.
I know, I know I can get a little pushy, putting you on the spot about why you're out here and stuff.
And you thought it was a good idea to get into your love life, I guess you'd call it?
Yeah. Anyway, I'm sorry.
It's fine.
I'll keep that sort of a thing to a minimum. Anyway, let me know when you get back to your lookout.
Oh, I can see my tower from far away.
Yeah, we experimented with hidden underground towers for a while, but we weren't really happy with the results.
I'm with you all summer, huh? With whatever this sense of humor is.
Can you even believe? You're gonna love it.
Hi, everyone. This is Ben Burbank. I'm a programmer at Campo Santo, predominantly doing graphics work and performance stuff. And I'm here with Jane.
Hi, I'm back.
And we're going to talk a little bit about, in general, how the world sort of streams in.
Mm-hmm.
This is a big open world game. There are, tens of thousands of trees somewhere in there?
Yeah, and we have how many chunks of the world that we stream in and out?
There are 100 plus?
Yeah, I think over 120.
One of the big challenges with that was we have to remove parts of it when you're not looking at it, because video game consoles and computers don't like to draw things that aren't
Especially
seen.
not a lot of trees.
Yeah, it's a lot of work for that little graphics card to do to try and draw all those that big forest. So the canyon's one of the spots where we have obvious occlusion where you can't see most of the world. So we unload the tower hub. The tower that you see in the canyon is fake. It's a small fake version.
Yeah.
Which is a common trick.
Yeah, so it's a very low cost version of what it would actually be there.
One of the biggest challenges for Jane and people building the levels was figuring out line of sight. So how far can you see? If you have a point where you can see entirely across the map, we had to be very careful about what is actually loaded and what's actually drawing.
Yeah, so even though the canyon is pretty much a straight corridor, we had to put in some kinks in there. So, right sort of in the middle, there's a little area where you have to go around a rock. This is so that we could make sure you won't be looking at the lake when we basically delete it out of the world.
Yeah. The game also, it's sort of non-linear. There's a linear story going on, but there's the ability for the player to just go backwards. So we also had to keep in mind reverse line of sight and things like that, which is a little different than a traditional action game or something.
Yeah, it's kind of like a little puzzle game almost to figure out when we stream in and out things. So hopefully you don't notice any of it, because if you do, that's actually us not doing a great job.
You probably will notice it though sometimes. I'm sorry about that.
Hey, I heard some thunder.
Yeah, I've got eyes on a storm out to the north.
Well, that's bad, right? Because of the lightning?
It just means we'll be busy. Hurry home, and try not to get hit by lightning.
Yeah, I'm not sure I got a lot of choice in getting struck down.
Especially not with your electric personality.
Ugh.
I see my joke did not spark your sense of humor.
Ugh.
What, you're not enjoying our current conversation?
Oh my God, lady.
The arc of our budding friendship.
How exactly are you in charge?
Aw, Henry, that's a good one.
You satisfied?
Yes!
I found a flashlight.
There's one in there? Great. Well, the sun's gonna go down soon, so if the batteries still work, you're in luck.
Ah! There's a horn or an antler or whatever.
Well, antlers are made of bone, and horns are made of the same stuff as your fingernails.
I guess this is a bone.
Antler. A ranger must have found it this spring.
What's in this cave down here?
In Thunder Canyon?
Thunder Canyon?
Hey, I didn't name it. But in the cave, I don't know, rocks? NFS tells people not to go too far in there. It's pretty dangerous.
So,
So I say, fuck it. You're a grown man, you can go where you want.
great. Used to go caving with someone back in Colorado. She loved it. Might be great to explore it sometime this summer.
Well, that could be fun. Obviously, be very careful.
It doesn't seem that dangerous. Whoa, whoa! Ah, no!
Henry!
Seriously, it's completely fine in here.
God damn it.
It looks like the path leads through the cave.
Back in the cave, huh? Man, I don't need to lose another lookout in there.
Another lookout?
They go in, they never come out.
Ah, so this is another one of your jokes.
Yeah, it is. Yep.
Hello? Oh! This cave is gated off.
It's to stop spelunkers from dying without getting the keys.
Makes sense.
Although, Debbie said she lost him like 3 years ago, so maybe it's just right locked away for good. Yeah, but maybe you can find another one to get your key kicks in.
Oh, this one's so close to home and convenient, though.
Aw, sorry, Hank.
Hi, I'm Jane. We're back.
And I'm Ollie.
Let's talk about this cave, Ollie.
Oh, let's not.
This cave really gave us all quite a bit of headache, actually. I was actually kind of having a mini panic attack because one of the hardest things to light in games actually is any area that's sort of half indoor and half outdoor, and this cave is a pain in the butt to light.
It is. Well, we thought you'd be an old pro at this, having worked on a game called The Cave. But yeah, it caused a lot of problems in terms of the logic gating of the environment switches, because every time the time of day changes in the game, it then like sets that time of day.
Because there's no doorway, really.
So the way the cave is lit, it actually just changes the time of day in the whole game. So like when you hit a trigger, if you could somehow magically transport yourself back outside the cave, you'd see like the sun spinning through the sky, the sky changing, and it was really hard to make that process invisible to the player and make it feel natural.
Not to mention that when you're inside the cave, everything also has to look really dark. And we use a method called image-based lighting throughout the game. And that basically means that all the objects, like all the trees and rocks, just look out to the sky to see what their lighting should be. And so in the cave, we actually had to do sort of like a fake sky for anything inside that is just pure black. So the lighting inside would be appropriately dark.
but still navigatable to a player without the
Exactly.
flashlight.
And also to be able to have a smooth transition when you're going from the brightly lit outside to the really dark inside and coming back out again, and having all the appropriate logic for the time of day, like Ollie said, it was just a real pain in the butt.
There's some guy out here giving me the creeps.
The creeps? Wait, he's looking at you? Is he doing anything else?
I don't think so.
Henry, there's something someone should have told you about this area.
What is it?
It's outside.
Come on.
The whole thing. And people come and go as they please. It's madness.
Yeah, okay. I get it.
Look, bumping into someone in the middle of nowhere is part of the fun.
I love the little details in Firewatch's branching dialogue. There are a lot of very subtle, hard-to-notice things that Sean put in while writing it that you really couldn't notice without multiple playthroughs, but they add up to this feeling that you're talking to real people who, just like real people, kind of echo back things you said earlier, who continue in jokes that have been established, et cetera, et cetera. And one of the subtlest that I don't think I even noticed till I was rewiring the game midway through is the spooky figure who you meet towards the end of day one.
Spooky figure. If the teens call you a creep, Henry calls the guy who's putting a flashlight in his face a creep.
Right.
And he goes, "There's some guy out here creeping," or he says something like, "He's a creep out here." She's like,
Yeah.
"A creep, Henry?" He's like,
Right.
"Yeah, there's a guy who's spooking me out here.
Right.
I don't like it." And I mean, I like doing stuff like that. I pay a lot of attention to the sort of infectiousness of language.
Yeah.
Especially in this office, someone will start using a turn of phrase that then I'll be at lunch with someone later, or I'll be out with Jake or whatever, and then I'll hear the phrase
Theory crafting?
through them,
Yeah.
where it's like, like if somebody was saying, "Oh, there was a total creep outside at the bus stop," then it wouldn't be long, like 18 hours later, it would be totally conceivable to hear Jake be like, "Oh yeah, that guy's kind of a creep. I don't know if we should have him by or whatever."
Yep.
And I'd be like, "Man, okay, like that word is now like bubbling along the surface of our social network here."
Mm-hmm.
And I like, people are like that. People are weird, sort of like passive, like non-participatory sponges sometimes.
Yeah.
And I just like putting that stuff in the writing. And you can do that in games in a way that you can't do that in other media. If you do that in like a book or something, it's so double underlined that it feels like you're making a big point as an author. But in a game, because it's player driven and it's passive, it just feels causal and the way the world works.
Damn it. Well, that trail isn't closed anymore.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I took care of the blocked path. It was backbreaking, but Anything for the service.
Well, thank you.
Anytime.
What can I do for you?
Well, my typewriter is on the ground, outside of my tower.
You right?
Yeah, look, the wind? No. How the hell
You should get inside.
Fuck me. Someone broke in.
Hey, what?
They wrecked the place. Threw my typewriter out the window. Motherfucker.
Holy shit. I'll let the Forest Service know what happened.
There's glass everywhere. I'm gonna have to fix the window.
Tomorrow, Henry. You won't be cold. Okay, I put in a call.
Okay, thanks.
Do you have any idea who would have done this?
I did probably piss off the girls at the lake. Ugh, fuck them.
Well, I'll have the Rangers keep an eye out for a couple of young women and question any they find. I can't believe someone would do this. I worry about bears and fires, and that's about it. And now I've got to worry about some, violent campers? Okay, in the morning I'm gonna call my friend Patty, who works the desk down in Cody. They keep a list of everyone who's officially been in and out of the trailhead since, I don't know, forever, and see if we can get a list of names. We won't get much, but at least if anything else happens, we can refer to it and see if anything comes up.
Thanks.
I need you to feel safe out here.
Well, I sure don't now.
You will. I promise. Wake up. Hey, wake up.
I'm awake. What's your problem?
Our problem.
Sorry, our problem.
That storm knocked out the phone line I used to talk to the service, which means we're cut off. I tried radioing out, and that's not working either.
Can I go fix it?
Well, you probably can't, but what you can do is hike out to where the wire runs through your area and report back if it's down. Then I can track down a ranger to get someone on it.
Okay, I can do that. Where is it?
Remember that cave you hiked through yesterday?
Yeah, of course.
So you're going to want to go back there, go through it, and keep going straight to the north when you come out.
Will do.
Thanks, Hank.
You wake up pretty early then, huh?
As soon as the sun comes up. Forest Service really frowns on us putting up curtains for some reason.
I'll get used to it. Been a bit of a night owl for a long time now.
Oh, it's fine. I mean, fires don't really start until 11 a.m. or so.
Seriously?
No. Good lord.
I just thought maybe it was one of those things like how earthquakes only happen at sunrise and sunset.
That's not true either, Henry. Jeez, we're really letting anyone in these days.
Can you see the communication wires from where you are?
I can see the poles, but I have no idea if the wire's in good shape or not. They run a good distance up to a spot called Beartooth Point. You just need to walk along them all the way up there and make sure everything's in ship shape.
Hey, I can see your tower. Suppose that means you can see me.
Yeah, well enough.
Hey, I'm Chris.
And I'm Sean, and day one ended abruptly. A lot of games don't do that structurally.
Yeah.
You sort of get to an end point, you touch a flag, or you continue on infinitely with no cuts.
Right.
Cuts are very rare in games that have sort of a...
First-person games especially.
Yeah.
The idea for that came from the movie Dallas Buyers Club.
So interesting.
I know. I remember so specifically seeing the first time that movie cuts to a day title card where you learn that the Matthew McConaughey character has diagnosed with AIDS and essentially given 30 days to live, and then it cuts and it says day one. And it was that was like a gut punch when you see that because of what it implies. And I was like, oh man, our game is set in basically a limited amount of time, and there's like this tense thing that happens that makes it, it's not as though there's like a specific date that's coming up, but there is like tension now that exists. Also, we had to figure out just how to get around the fact that we had a big open world and needed to tell a linear story, and so I just came in the next day and pitched that idea based on that movie.
And we all just thought it was like stylish and interesting and solved so many problems, so we did it.
Ended up creating a lot more problems, but I think it worked overall.
Yeah, it was great.
It's actually pretty damn cold out here.
Roger that. Warms up fast. The mornings are cold in Boulder, though, right?
Yeah, they are.
What did you get up to down there? I mean, what's life like?
Boring if you don't ski. We used to go to this bar called the Dollar, though. I love that place.
Oh, wait, is that down on Pearl? They have all the money pinned to the ceiling?
Yeah, that's it, yeah.
I love that bar. Why don't you go anymore?
I got a DUI, so...
Oh.
Yeah, not particularly proud of it.
Well, I mean... Look, I haven't told anyone this, but, I got one too, 5 years ago.
Yeah?
Yeah. God, it was stupid. It was so stupid, but... it's late, it's winter, the streets are empty, and you just want to get home.
Totally.
Ugh, so fucking dumb. Hey, can you hold on a sec?
Sure. Just gonna keep hiking and hoping it warms up.
Heyo. I don't think so. Why, have you? Okay, good. No, I don't think he has any idea. I'm absolutely sure. Would you? All right, I'll let you know if anything changes in that regard. Hey, sorry about that. Anyway, I empathize with the DUI thing. Did your girlfriend get mad, or whoever? You said we used to go to the bar. Ugh, sorry, I'm the most awkward woman on earth.
That would be my wife, Julia.
Oh, like your wife? Or like she's taken half my stuff wife?
My wife.
But you're here.
She's sick, and I shouldn't be here, but I am.
I'm sorry, Henry. What is it?
We'll get into it.
Okay. Well, in the meantime, you are here, and it's beautiful, and escaping isn't always something bad.
Yeah, sure.
Look, I gotta go do a thing, but I'll have a radio. Okay, call me if you need to.
Who are these guys, Ron and Dave? They're leaving notes for each other in the boxes. Is there any chance one of them was that guy I saw in the canyon? You know, the guy with the flashlight?
No, they're both rangers. They're not out here this season. I didn't really know them that well, but I always assumed the only thing Ron cared about was chasing tail and getting loaded. It's somehow comforting to know that he was able to keep up a correspondence with someone who wasn't going to send him a topless Polaroid.
Hey, it's Ollie again.
And Jake.
Hey, Jake.
So I feel that we're right now in close proximity to Forrest Burns.
I think the idea for Burns came around when we realized that Smokey the Bear was not a public domain figure, and we realized, but also something that people associate really closely, the idea of a mascot with wilderness parks.
Right. So what if we created something far worse than Smokey the Bear?
What if we made something horrifying and strange? I mean, the original idea was that as the game kind of built up, you'd find these Forrest Burns posters that would get gradually more sinister and be this sort of like externalization of Henry's inner paranoia sort of creeping in. But
that did not happen.
We didn't do that. We just made a wacky character and stuck him in the game.
I think there's one of the Forrest Burns posters survives in a couple places.
Mm-hmm,
Like Delilah's Tower at the end has the Forrest Burns can dig it poster.
Mm-hmm.
But the one that says "snuff it out" with him holding a match
Does not appear in the game.
in the face of a child. Yeah, it's not there.
No, that's out.
Yeah, I know. Even up until the moment that Forrest Burns went into the game, I feel like there was a hesitance from the team to include him in the game. But
I went in just to put him in.
you rogue modeled the Forrest Burns stand-up, and then right before the GDC demo, I put him on the back of the outhouse.
Yes.
And then it turns out that he was really fun. Fun Forrest Burns fact: for a while, you could use him as a physics object, and then we've discovered that you could surf Forrest Burns and use him to get to inaccessible areas. So you can no longer do that, unfortunately.
That's much to my chagrin.
Yeah, surf Burns down the shale slide, not allowed. Anyway, that's him. Enjoy him.
Yep.
Use him well.
Hey, it's Chris again.
And Sean.
Hey.
Hey.
So the conversation that you may be hearing or may be coming up soon has Delilah taking a call from another lookout. Unbeknownst to her, Henry can hear this all happening. And when she finishes that call, you as the player can choose to call her on it or not call her on it. And that was a very interesting piece of writing and design, I think.
Yeah, I really loved the idea we had here, and I love the way it is performed, but I feel like I especially would add something to it if I were to go back into the game and noodle around. This is a kind of a confusing call for people, and I'm sure if it was for you, you'll understand why, which is that people get really hung up on the fact that Delilah takes this mysterious call, and then it's never sort of like overtly explained that she's just doing her job. She's just literally just talking to someone else. And the lens through which you hear it is 100% just Henry's paranoia. But I feel like that could have been underscored here way more had I let you, the player, like, find a nuanced middle ground and sort of pry at her about what that call was without freaking out.
Mm-hmm.
If you call her on it, Henry gets very, very defensive. And while I think that goes to illustrate the fact that Henry doesn't have a lot of capacity for nuance and middle ground because he's so damaged and bummed to be in the situation he's in, I feel like he kind of did players a disservice by not letting them feel out the relationship and a potential mystery early on.
I think that dated from an earlier revision of the game in which we were barreling towards more of a hard break between Henry and Delilah.
Yes.
And this was maybe just one thing that didn't quite get that last tweak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I still like the scene,
Me too.
nevertheless.
Yeah.
I can see the wire you're talking about. It looks like it's in good shape from here.
We'll follow it up to the top of the trail if you can. You can head back as soon as you give me the all clear.
Got it. So we really can't reach anyone any other way than these wires?
What else do you suggest? Smoke signals?
Just seems dangerous.
Well, if they don't hear from me for a few days, they'll send someone out, but I'd rather it not come to that.
I've got an overgrown trail here,
Yeah, that'll happen.
so I'm screwed when it comes to getting past it?
Screwed until you clear it yourself, yeah.
Great. Well, if I come across some tools, I'll add groundskeeping to my ever-increasing list of responsibilities. There's really no way past some of this underbrush that's grown over the trail.
See, the thornier a trail is, the less inclined a ranger is to want to deal with it. They'll just hike or take their horse a different way.
Hey, I found a structure that might have been an outhouse once, I think.
Whoa, you don't need my permission to go to the bathroom, but, use abandoned shitters at your own peril.
I mean, I'm in the right area. This outhouse is in the middle of nowhere.
Well, I hate to tell you, but everything out here is in the middle of nowhere.
You know what I mean. Am I on the right track?
Just keep following the wire to the top of the ridge, and then you can head back.
I found an old notepad of, I guess, songs. Someone was writing a song called Ol Shoshone.
Ol Shoshone, where the sky is blue and the teens are nude.
It's just like that, except about 10 times more depressing. Anything I should know about the cabin at the top of this hill? Hello? Okay, then. Found an old hat from a Korean war vet.
You'd be surprised how many former service members take this gig.
Well, makes sense.
I imagine if you've been through war, you probably can't get enough silence.
Hi, Ollie.
Hi, Sean.
It's nice that we're doing a tape together.
I know, is this the first one?
It's our first and only one.
Oh, that's a shame.
I feel like we've done so much together not on tape. At least not recorded in a way that you know about.
Okay.
And here we are talking about Hawk's Rest.
Hawk's Rest.
You concepted this area quite a
Yeah,
bit.
the idea was that it would seem from the outside a sort of innocuous little house on the edge of a cliff, much like your own lookout, but when you open the door you get the surprise that it's been burnt away and you just see a vista and sort of rush of wind as you open that door, and I thought that would be a really fun reveal for the player.
Yeah, and I sort of screwed it up when I first wrote this scene because all of these sort of Hawk's Rest dialogue and all the stuff about Raccoon Carter was as you were walking up the hill, you could report the cabin, which was a lookout tower, at the top of the hill, and then get into this story about its former inhabitant as you were approaching it, and then it sort of buried the moment in a way. So we took all that stuff out, and I hacked in very inelegantly, I think, that Delilah just doesn't answer you when you ask her about what the house at the top of the hill is, and then you get to experience it alone before getting the story about Raccoon Carter, and I'm really happy with the way that worked out. Also,
There's a secret.
but the raccoon that lives in the stove that you may or may not know about is only there on certain days because of a myriad of design reasons. But if you're here on any day that isn't day 2 and you open that stove, there's a little
Spoilers.
critter in there. And that was animated by James, textured by Ollie, drawn by Ollie. I really like that raccoon, Oliver.
Thanks, Sean.
You did a very nice job on that raccoon. Also, you did a very nice job on the rest of the game, and I'm only going to tell you that on the Hawk's Rest tape. I'm actually going to edit this out. I don't want anyone hearing me ever compliment you.
Fantastic.
In the record, but because it's around taped together. But I really love the way this area came together.
It's lovely. Lovely the way it is. Very nice. Well done.
Hey, it's Jake again.
And Mark's here.
So, is there anything style-wise that you had to consider on this game as opposed to doing work in I don't know, a lot of the other stuff you've done is probably more AAA in scope.
Yeah, I mean, my previous work, I've done a lot more just ridiculous, over-the-top Hollywood-type blood squibs and explosions and laser beams and that kind of jazz. So it was neat to just sort of like stop and think about what the relevant effects to walking around a national park would be.
Right.
Just sort of ambient, natural, secondary motion. That you would want in the world without it being obnoxiously overpowered as most things you would do for a AAA action game.
You know, the entire world looks hazy and covered in smoke as the fire gets closer and closer, and obviously we couldn't just fill the entire world with smoke because everyone's graphics card would melt and it would also look like a big pile of garbage. So it seems like you and Paolo, who did a lot of the sort of programming side of this, ended up inventing this thing that the team called the Henry Smoke Barfer, which
I do think Nels actually coined that one, but yeah,
it was probably Nels.
Yeah, it's a very Nels thing to say.
Yeah, Henry at this point in the game is wandering around with basically a pigpen cloud around him. When you see the sparks flying around on day 79 or the sort of lingering haze on days 77 and 78, that's actually just Henry's body emitting those, then leaving them behind in the trail.
I made up a group of emitters that rotate around the watchtower that, you know, if you look real closely, you could probably make it out, but it gives that sort of feeling of it's super intensely smoky outside without having
you're in the middle of this big swirling storm, but actually it's just, 6 feet of smoke spinning around the outside of the building.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, okay, the wire's down here.
Really? Awesome. Good find.
It's like, I don't know, a mile and a half east of me. You just follow the trail up the hill, you can't miss it. I'll go see what the damage is. Guess what?
What is it?
There's a bunch of empty cans up here.
Same as before?
Yep.
These fucking kids.
How could these girls be so stupid?
Trust me, I never underestimate the stupidity of a drunk teenager. Also, I never underestimate the balls of a drunk young woman, having been one.
Well, I hopped down a drop and now I can't climb back up.
That is a pickle.
I can just keep hiking, but I figured I should let you know in case I get myself trapped out here.
How adventurous of you.
I've been doing a lot more climbing out here than I expected.
Well, keep your radio charged. I'd hate to one day find a skeleton with an orange backpack at the bottom of a ravine.
Hey, so the wire is definitely down out here. I just found it. Yeah, the thing is, it doesn't look like the wind. It looks like it was cut deliberately.
I knew it the moment you said you found their trash. These idiots are gonna pay. Do they realize this is how people die? I mean, what if something happened to one of my lookouts while this was going on? And God forbid there's an actual fire burning out of control.
What do you want to do?
I want you to go find them.
And then what?
I haven't thought that far ahead. That's not true. Everything that comes to mind is illegal.
Let's hear it.
Oh yeah?
Hey, I came out here for a breath of fresh air and some adventure. What do you got?
I think I want you to just find them and scare the hell out of them.
Yeah, I'd make a spooky ghost costume, but they stole my sheets.
I don't know. Wait for them to wander off and wreck their camp. Something that would make a teenage girl run home to mommy and daddy.
I'll find them.
Thanks.
But I am gonna need a raise.
Don't hold your breath. I'd start by hiking back towards your tower and just keep an eye out for anything that would lead you to them.
Well, they're big into Red Eagle.
Great. See if you can find the path they took down from there. Maybe they looped back around towards the lake or something. I doubt they're where they were yesterday, but they obviously can't have gone far.
Do you see anything from yours? Like, clues as to where they could be?
Clues. I really like your enthusiasm for mystery.
I'm just doing my job.
I like it. I do. I can't wait for you to give these girls a piece of our minds collective. But no clues. I can't see anything from here.
Hey, Chris again.
And Sean.
Hey, if you saw the second trailer for Firewatch, there's a moment that takes place here where Delilah points out that there's someone in Henry's tower. Henry points out that he's not there. Camera swings back to the tower, and it's a big dramatic ending. Of course, that moment happens in a completely different part of the map in the actual game and has totally unrelated to this moment that you're now experiencing.
And this was a trailer that we had debuted with Sony at E3, so we knew we had a big audience and that a lot of people were going to see it. It's really, really challenging. I mean, you all know, because everyone goes to movies, what it's like to watch a trailer for a movie that you're excited about and maybe have already decided to see and then be shown too much stuff.
Yeah.
And every once in a while, a movie either has like the ability to or sort of the chutzpah to just show you a scene that hit the cutting room floor or an alternate version of something that gets you feeling the way you should feel and excited for the movie as presented, but doesn't spoil it for you. And I think I'm really happy that we ended up doing that. I think it's good. Like, you're not lying. It's not like we showed you a mechanic that you can't do or anything like that.
I think that we basically had to find a way to accurately convey the type of tension and mood of the game without spoiling it, and so we basically ended up just writing those trailers to fit. I think it worked.
Yeah, I'm happy with it.
I gotta tell you, all this climbing and jumping, it's pretty invigorating.
Just wait for the rest of the summer when you'll be sitting on your fat ass 14 hours a day.
There's an abandoned pack out here.
And it's not one of the teens?
No, it looks like it was lost a long time ago.
Well, you could always pilfer it for supplies.
Well, I am flush with ropes now. That pack was full of them, in decent condition, too.
That's lucky.
I mean, there's enough rope here that I could just leave them hooked up, I think. Oh, get this. This pack came with one of those cardboard single-use cameras.
With pictures left?
Yeah, he only used 3 or 4.
Neato.
Thank you, Brian Goodwin.
Wait, who?
The bag had the name Brian Goodwin sewn into the top.
Huh. Wow.
Do you know him?
Yeah, I just haven't heard that name in a few years.
He was a lookout?
Yeah, kinda, I guess. He was stationed in Two Forks, your lookout, with his dad Ned 3 summers ago. Great kid.
You can bring children out here?
No. You know, I'm not a stickler for rules. They took off halfway through the summer.
Why? Where did they go?
I don't know. I never really hit it off with old Ned, and, one day they were just gone. Sucks. Anyway, so it goes. Have, fun with that camera. Try not to snap anything that would scar a Photodome employee.
I don't know. I got a lot of hiking to do. Might get bored.
Well, I'm bored as rocks, so I'll keep you company while you find those girls, huh?
Hi, it's Ben.
Oh, it's Jake. Hey, Ben. So let's talk about Henry's camera. Or I guess, more specifically, the Goodwin family camera. We liked the idea of Brian and his dad bringing one of those little cardboard cameras out with them, and we had thought at various points in production, maybe we should cut taking photos because it's really complicated. Maybe you should just see the ones at the end in the credits and be shocked by the Goodwin family.
When I joined the project, I actually was super excited about this feature. I liked the idea of having the camera have a little bit of a real-world like feel to it. People seemed to like when you showed an animated GIF of it on Twitter. People went crazy, like remembering these things.
Especially once the idea was proposed that on PC you could print out your photos or you could upload them to the internet and get them developed, which is the thing that we do.
Yeah, the photos that we take are actually secretly 5 megapixel, like first generation digital camera quality photos, but just good enough that if you print them out, they look okay.
Yeah, like once we went all in on that as a concept, it seemed like having the camera in the game was like an essential no-brainer, and then we went all in on making it work like a real camera. Like we really wanted, you'll have a fixed number of shots you can take. Every time you take a picture, Henry has to wind the camera by hand.
And some players like ignore it and don't take pictures. They'll take like the 2 that Delilah tells you to, and then the end credits will play and they'll see 2 pictures and maybe have a little feeling of loss that they didn't participate in that feature.
Yeah, or people who get super bummed because they get really into the mystery and take pictures of like strange machines and ripped up campsites and a dead Brian Goodwin, and then get to the end credit sequence and go, oh, that was me.
Yeah, they only see the sad things.
I
Those
like
people
that
win.
depending on how much you use the camera and what you choose to take a picture of, you end up getting a different story at the end of the game. That's the thing that I think worked out the best with the camera and made me the happiest that we actually went all out on building this stupid thing.
Yeah, it's really nice.
I see a really thin plume of smoke.
Yeah, I see it too. A thin plume like this is either a new fire or a campfire.
Campfire. You think it's them?
I reckon so.
It looks like it's to the southwest of me.
That's right. If you hike towards 5 Mile Creek, that should put you in the neighborhood. Keep an eye on that smoke plume. Let me know if it's getting any larger.
Will do. Someone found a fossil and put it in a cache box.
Could be the same person who left that antler.
And maybe they're leaving me an entire creature, piece by piece. Hey, Delilah?
What do you got? You found him?
No, not yet. Why would there be a fence out here?
Because sometimes hikers go ass over tea kettle when on a trail.
So the Forest Service would put up a big chain link fence?
A chain link fence?
Yeah. It looks like it surrounds a huge area.
Huh. That's weird.
Who are they keeping out of here? And why?
Geez, I don't know. Maybe it's biologists, you know? Well, they don't want people traipsing on their precious lichens.
What's a lichen?
Wouldn't you liken to know?
Oh my god, goodbye.
I'll ask next time I talk to someone, but that'll probably be a few days.
Do you think those girls could be behind this fence?
Well, having once been an ornery young woman, the last thing I would do is climb a fence. Especially if I knew I was in trouble.
I don't even know how I would get in.
It's really strange that that's out there, by the way.
Yeah, it's weird. Hey, you remember that guy from yesterday, the guy I saw hiking home?
Yes?
Maybe he was from this fence place.
From the land of the fence.
Yes.
You know what? I'll make a note. You might be on to something.
Hey, Chris here.
And Patrick.
Hey, Patrick. So at this point in the game, we're starting off on the search for the teens. One big challenge we frequently had on Firewatch was figuring out how to guide players when the person giving you your current objective doesn't actually know where to send you. Delilah knows you need to find the teens, but neither of you have any idea where to start.
And in this case, we'd used telephone poles to get you up to Beartooth Point, and we're now using some beer cans to sort of lead you in the general direction away from that. Of course, we rapidly saw that these teens were drinking a truly ludicrous number of beers in one walk.
I think you and I both placed quite a few of these beer cans, probably you even more than I.
Yep.
It started to sort of strain credulity.
Right, which is why I think we had to add that case at the end just to make it plausible that there are something like 30 cans out there.
Right.
Yeah.
Probably the best tool we ended up coming up with for this, which was the smoke plume,
Right.
was because we were getting increasingly uncomfortable with stretching fiction so far to the point of adding this many, like, Hansel and Gretel beer cans.
That's right. And but even then, the smoke plume was not enough. Many players didn't notice it or weren't looking up, which we know is a common game design problem. And that's when we started adding dialogue where Henry could call into Delilah and basically say, "Where do you have any ideas? I'm lost. I still can't find them." Kind of mirroring what we saw in playtesting where people did get lost and got frustrated.
Right.
Ultimately, when that fell down...
eventually, if you have not noticed anything, you haven't ask Delilah about any of this stuff, she will just call you and say, hey, I see some smoke. Maybe that's where you should go.
Right, and that pretty well sews it up.
The sort of full court press of all of those things. I think most players eventually find their way to the teens. I mean, we figured it was okay for players to get lost a little bit. I mean, that is the point of this. You are supposed to be on an aimless search a little bit on this mission. But, I think with all of the different tools we added in, most players eventually feel like they're actually on some kind of trail.
I mean, I suggested an omniscient satellite AI that could contact you and tell you exactly where to go, but that was shot down.
It was a late cut.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Will, and I was the gameplay and systems programmer on Firewatch.
And I'm James, and I was the animator on Firewatch.
And we're here to talk about climbing and mantling today.
We had a bunch of stuff that essentially was more point-to-point interactive stuff, where you sort of like look to the rock you wanted to put your hand on and click on it, and you'd kind of do that. A lot of the platforming-y type stuff just got pared down because as you make the game, you realize what game you're making, and it's not really about being an athletic climbing person. It just kind of like made the game slower when you were trying to get to the next conversation. Mostly what the climbing stuff ended up being useful for in like game design terms was characterization. So some of the mantles do a decent job of getting across that Henry is kind of a lumbering, slightly heavier person, as we sort of like force you to watch Henry kind of slug over an edge rather than being a nimble, mirror's edgy person.
We also use it a lot of times to break up sightlines so that you get a good vista as you come up over a mantle, like when you see the man with the flashlight for the first time, or kind of see the burned forest.
In the cave, sometimes we use the camera animation on mantles to hide a sort of teleport to a different part of the cave, which was pretty useful actually, so that was quite good.
The reason that it all got pared down is we, didn't want you to ever fall off the cliff, didn't want you to back down them. Like, nobody ever wanted to climb back up those twice, so we just made them simpler and simpler and simpler until eventually getting to you just hit the button and climb all the way up.
One of the earliest conversations I had with Jake, he just sort of casually mentioned, oh, and we're thinking that you can't die in this game, and which now seems like the most obvious design decision ever for Firewatch, but I'd only been making games before then where it's like, and then you have your character can die and you respawn and da-da-da, like traditional video game stuff. And the idea suddenly of like, how do you make content that still feels like I'm climbing over stuff and I'm doing things, but with absolutely no risk? And I remember at the very beginning being like, oh god, is that going to be a huge problem? Well, of course now, if you ever saw Henry fall to his death in the game, it would be ludicrous and ruin the moment.
Absolutely.
But Firewatch 2 is going to have lots and lots of falling to your death, obviously.
What does she have?
She's got Alzheimer's, like dementia.
Whoa. How old was she?
Is she? She's alive. She's with her family in Melbourne, Australia. She's 43.
Fuck.
Yeah.
What was it like when you guys found out?
Devastating. Especially for her. You can understand.
And for you?
Anyway, everything she worked for was taken away, and that was it. Yeah. I'm sorry to be such a downer.
Don't even. I'm happy to listen. And, we'll try to have some fun this summer. I promise. I'm having a hell of a time getting this.
Oh, hey, this is Ben again, and I'm here with Paolo.
Hello, I'm Paolo. I was the graphics programmer on Firewatch.
So we're here to talk a little bit about the time of day system that the game uses and the skybox stuff. You're in an area where there's a weird device that you can use to step and mess around with those while we talk.
As you can see around you right now, you can walk on the different parts there, and you'll see the weather changing. So immediately when we started working on Firewatch, there were a couple of important points. We had to have a dynamic time of day. So at any point, people could trigger changing the sky, changing the fog, changing each individual component independently. At the same time, this has all sorts of technical implications, but the most important are, okay, how do we represent all this information? Games have many ways of baking data, which means that you sort of gather the lighting information in a scene and then you save it into memory, which is usually a texture or other data structures, to then use it in real time. Now, the problem with that was that we had a lot of different permutations and we wanted them to change in real time. And also, we didn't know ahead of time how many we were going to have. So we tried to go with a fully dynamic solution. In this case, what dynamic means is just that as you walk around, you'll see the sun moving around, the sky color changing, the fog color changing, and the shadows moving. So all those components are always rendered every frame, and there's no information that is stored anywhere.
So what pieces make up the sky again?
The sky, we tried first an approach of representing sort of a simplified version of the scattering equation and seeing what that would look like. And it was looking good in the game, but it was still very difficult to author. And since Ollie, as the art director, is absolutely talented with colors, at some point we just sat down and we sort of worked together and said, okay, imagine that you could just paint the sky in Photoshop and think about how that would work in the game. It might just magically work. And by doing that, we basically dissected his process of assembling just a painted sky in Photoshop, and we created a shader, which are basically programs that run on the GPU to render things, that suited his exact style. So really, the sky is just a series of gradients that blend into each other with a couple of controls to change curves and attenuations between them. So as you walk around, you'll be able to see how both the sky changes and then the fog adapts to the same color and the sun moves in the right direction. And then there were just a couple of numbers to make sure that like the brightness around the sun would be higher so that it would still sort of represent and give the feeling of what the sky and how the sky behaves.
And this like gave Ollie the ability to test some things very quickly.
Exactly. Having immediate feedback for filling a world that was as big as Firewatch, especially for the sort of limited team size that we had, was absolutely important. Like, we had to have a way so that artists would make something quickly, have an idea of what it would look in the game, and knowing that it was pretty close to what we were going to ship.
Yep.
So, how'd you meet?
Met in a bar.
The birthplace of modern romance.
I walked over and asked her what her major was because I thought she was a student, not a prof.
Smooth.
That's me. I did make the first move, though.
Aw, you were brave.
I was drunk. Wow, I'm on top of a natural bridge out here.
Really? Is it a complete arch?
No, I guess the bridge is out here. Still, I think I could jump this gap to get across the canyon.
Wow, you're a regular Evel Knievel.
Oh yeah, you should see the jumpsuit I'm wearing.
Hey, Jane.
Hi, Jake. Let's talk about how I almost killed you over this canyon crossing.
Why would anyone have any objection to something in a game as lovely as this area?
So originally, when we first built this whole canyon, you can only walk through the bottom where the creek is.
It looks really lovely when you're walking along the bottom looking up.
And you cannot get close to anything.
You can just imagine what the top of the canyon looks like, and you don't ever have to see it or make it.
Basically, there was nothing up here.
But what if, think about this though, what if you could walk across the top of it and look down, and then we built all of that too?
I just remember the day when you mocked this out in the paper map and just gingerly just showed it to me. And then I looked at it and I was like,
what's that line? What's that line doing going over the...
No way, Jake.
There was no way I was going to win that. I mean, I ended up just building a lot of it myself to try
and I think you were like, okay, how about this other thing? I was like, okay, this other thing is fine, but this is definitely not happening.
I just secretly built a million walls and trees and did every single thing that I possibly could to make it so
but
you would look at it.
You did a good job though, because the thing I was really worried about was when you're up there, you end up seeing basically the whole length of the canyon, and then also all the way to basically towards Delilah's tower, which means it's
right,
way
all the way through the Beartooth Point
area. It would
area,
be way too much game to try to draw.
Mule Point.
So that
exactly.
that was the original sort of
It was a lot
fear.
of very careful then you go around this turn and then you secretly drop down 3 feet and a bunch of huge trees come up. I was very happy that we were able to get the canyon crossing in, because it's one of the few places where I think you do a total figure 8 over yourself.
It was nice that you managed to problem solve all the sightline areas before I lose my mind.
Thanks for not killing me. I'm alive to be on this commentary track.
Nope.
What are you going to do when the fire season wraps up? Are you going to go be with her? Just go back to Boulder? You should go be with her.
I'll probably just head back to Boulder and, I don't know, I'll figure out what's next. Maybe I'll move. No.
You should go see her. Yes, you love her.
If she remembers me.
I know I don't know anything about your situation, but I think you should go or you'll regret it. She'd love to see you. I think you should go.
I'm down in Thunder Canyon. I'm not seeing that smoke anymore.
Oh, it's still burning away. Try heading west from where you are. If you loop past the lake, there should be a trail that'll take you further south.
Thanks, that helps.
Hello, this is Jane again.
And Chris.
And we are now by the lake. And you might be noticing that there's some really sweet duck sounds by the lake.
Jane bugged me for duck sounds for months. Actually, one of the oldest, we track our tasks on the game with like a task tracker or a bug tracker. So you rank them all by priority. And I think the lowest or second lowest priority thing on my list for months was duck sounds for Jane. And that just sat there until I think one day I just didn't have a lot to do. And I was like, you know what? I'm doing it. I'm bumping the duck sounds up the chain. I think I just looked on the internet for public domain duck noises.
Yeah, I think you were actually wondering what kind of ducks there would be too. You were very
I looked it
thorough.
up. I researched it, and I think I was mainly there. I think I fudged it a little bit because I didn't want it to just be the same I wanted there to be a variety so it didn't get annoying if you hung out there for a while.
It's not just ducks, it's like a waterfowl.
Yeah,
of all kinds.
so I branched out a bit, but we got them in.
Yay!
Thanks for bugging me about the duck sounds.
Yeah, it won't be a real lake without duck sounds.
Exactly.
Hi, this is Will.
And this is James again.
We're talking about the rope right now. You should be one nearby.
Yeah, the rope was the very, very first thing I ever did on the entire game. It kind of seeped into being quite an important part of the world layout. We sort of had this whole Metroidvania items thing, and the rope was very much our first, that's the rockets that let you get through the door in Metroid. It was such an early flag we planted in the ground for ourselves. So, yeah, there were lots of technical things, weren't there?
All the rope climbs are different. All the rope slides are different. Minorly different, but different enough. So the rope had to be physically simulated. It couldn't be just a pre-canned animation. In order to get that to work, took a ton of time, lots of iterations. In the end, I had to basically make Henry's hand a gravity well whenever he's on the rope, and then grab the nearest parts of the rope and reskin them to bones that I was just making out of math around Henry's hand and belt. So his left hand, right hand, and belt are all take over as fake bones, and we reskin the rope every frame to get that to match up perfectly. And if you look real close at the rope, you can see sort of a little bit in front of his hands, the texture on it, the tiling changes and kind of squishes and stretches and squishes and stretches as you go down. And that's because the rope position doesn't naturally always line up with even spacing when I swap in those fake bones.
Yeah, the rope is one of the best examples if you were to zoom the camera out and look at what's going on, where I'm sort of animating by the seat of my pants and just keeping his hands in the perfect position so that transition between the physics rope and the skinning version of the rope, doesn't blend too strangely. And it's probably the set of animations in the game that has the most versions made. There's probably like 10 different versions of climbing down. There used to be things where your hands would swap in front of you, picking the rope from one to the other, and obviously that is unbelievably, ridiculously complicated once we had a physical rope. And
nice thing is you can get on it from anywhere and at any time, and it all works. So it was worth it in the end, but quite a bit of effort.
How many hikers go missing in the Shoshone?
More than none, unfortunately, with most of them being in this area. The thoroughfare because it's so remote. Why?
I found an old flyer for a missing hiker. It just got me thinking, that's all. Like how you said one day you were talking to the Goodwins and then the next you weren't.
Ned Goodwin didn't get mauled by a bear or stuck in a ravine. He was just a PTSD'd a-hole who dragged his son out to do a job and realized it was a bad idea.
PTSD? That doesn't sound good.
Yeah, I don't know. He was in the army. He was off. It's actually the saddest story. He was only discharged because his mother, Brian's grandmother, died. She'd been taking care of him, and Ned was the only next of kin.
Damn. And you got to know Brian a little bit?
Yeah, I talked to him way more than I'd talked to Ned, that's for sure.
How was he at, spotting fires?
Better than you. He actually liked to stay in the tower.
Boy, for as dry as it is this summer, there's an area down here that's lush.
Oh, you must be talking about the Aspen Grove down there.
Yeah, I think that's where I am.
Those trees are actually one root organism. Did you know that?
I didn't.
Yeah, they share their water as a colony that can live for hundreds of years, even through fire. Can you believe you're actually getting paid to learn all of these amazing things? Also, by what it looks like on this map, you'll be coming up on a stream that should lead you towards where we saw that smoke.
Hi, this is Ben again, and I'm here with Paolo.
Hello.
We're going to talk about stylistic fog and some of the other effects in the game.
For the stylistic fog, we basically use the same approach that we use for the other rendering components and technologies of Firewatch, which was how do we get something that allows Ollie and Jane to really just be directive and paint colors and information like they want into a 3D world. So the only challenge that was there really was how do we translate sort of a 3D scene that has depth into it, into layers of colors. And immediately we came up with this technique of using a one-dimensional texture that is applied. You can imagine that the image, it's a sort of a rectangular image, goes from left to right. Imagine that left is the color that is closer to the player, and right is the color that is in the distance. So in that way, you are basically able to paint color in the depth of the world, and that really gave Jane and Ollie the control they needed to make the Firewatch colors as beautiful as they are.
Yeah, it really matches a lot of Ollie's original like poster and previs work for the game.
Yeah,
and that technique is used a lot in like film. In film, they wouldn't even just use one texture. Sometimes they'll use like hundreds of these strips to layer out an entire scene. But can't do that in a video game because we got to render at a lot of frames per second on bad computers sometimes.
Yeah, and for that, like for the color correction specifically, we used the plugin that was actually available in the Unity Asset Store, and it just worked right off the bat for us. It gave us sort of the real-time tweaking that we needed, and thanks to that, we saved some development time, which was really precious.
Yeah, that was the Amplify color if you're really wanting to make your own Firewatch. And in an area like this, Aspen Grove, you can see all those effects coming together. You see we have God rays coming from the sun. We have depth of field. If you pick up an object to blur out the world, you can see all the different colors that Ollie's manipulating beyond just like what the sky and light would provide.
Yeah, awesome.
Hey, what's to the south of here?
Mexico? Is this some sort of riddle?
I just have a nice view to the south. You know, trees and mountains forever.
Well, eventually you'll wander into the area overseen by Chimney Rock Lookout, but that's probably an impossible hike in terms of terrain.
It's a really nice waterfall down here. Given those girls love a skinny dipping, I bet they're nearby. Found one of their empties. Guess we're on the right track.
Roger that.
There's some cloth out here. It looks like it was torn from something.
Strange.
I'll keep looking around.
Hi, this is Ollie again.
And this is Syndra. I worked as a character artist.
One of the most important things about this game, from our point of view, was to try and get the player to kind of inhabit this character Henry, and a big part of that was his character design. We wanted him to be a little different to the regular kind of character you might expect from this kind of game. He's a little older, a little more portly, and we wanted to make sure that, you know, when you look down, you can see your body and you really like feel as if you are playing this character. And to do that, I designed him from the point of view of like trying to make him feel like an older man in terms of the way he moved and looked. We used a lot of, I guess, reference for this, particularly comedian Louis C.K. was one of them.
Yeah, I had like a mood board that I made that's just essentially just like a collage of Louis C.K. and there was also a fair bit of like Wreck-It Ralph and like the Heavy from Team Fortress, sort of like these heavy, sort of slow moving characters. So actually, when I was modeling, I would actually put like a camera in Henry's head so I could look down at his body, which is like I think most of the design characters for third-person games and mobile and stuff like that, I was not used to. Designing anything from that perspective. The initial model I sent you guys was pretty much just a bunch of primitives mashed together, like really rough, sort of like, early Dreamcast 3D kind of looking stuff, just to get like a feel for the, just proportions and to give James something to rig so he could just get something moving and kind of get a preview of the motions because, you don't need like a fully formed, highly detailed 3D model to just do animation. So actually nailing that stuff early on was really important, I think.
One of the biggest focuses was the hands, because those are the things that the player sees most, and they're the most sort of expressive Henry. So we wanted to make sure that the shapes were really simple and bold and evocative in order to allow James, our animator, kind of give him the best material to work with and portray the character through those motions.
Yeah, they're practically the main character.